Okay, this is a video addressing Program 5. I need to remind you the purpose of Program 5. It's really to have you construct a program from components that have been written by yourself and other students. Program 4 was about producing those components. Let's take a look at the components. There's a new repository set up called SC repository, and that's where the components go once they have been proven. So I gave everyone access to this repository through these commands. There are 5 commands. The first command allows you to see which of your components are in the repository. The next command allows you to see what the names of the available components so that you can begin the process of choosing a component for your use. You have the ability to display the specification of a component, which is basically the header and a description of how the component is supposed to function. Your job is to select components based upon the test programs that are submitted. And to do that, the command is sctest. And finally, once you have evaluated multiple components that claim to do the same job, you can adopt one of them. So let's start off by looking at components that might be your own. So if you say SC mine, you must say what assignment ID yielded these components. And in our case, it was assignment PROG4. So we can say SC mine PROG4. Okay. And it's a bit noisy, but at the end it will tell you the components that have been submitted. So you will see your components listed. Now let's do SC help again. And now if I wanted to see what components are available, I can say SC status. Just do that. And you will see that there are a total of not 108, but it's really more like 36 components that have been developed. Each component has a specification. It has the executable program for the test program, and then it has the actual object code, the .o file, for the component itself. Each component is assigned a unique number. So if you want to pick a component, you pick it using the name of the component, such as remove is the name. The component ID is 19688. All right? So let's take a look at the assignment and refresh your memory. The program that we're writing is called arraymanip.cpp. Its job is to do all of these pieces here, all these steps in the algorithm. And for example, to accomplish the first step, you need a function. And you might say, what function do I need? It turns out the name of the function you want is the read function, because it reads values from the keyboard. Okay? Now the question becomes, a couple things to note. The moment I use a component, I'm given 3 things. You will be given the .o file for it, that's the compiled version of the component. You will be given the .h file that has the prototype for the component. And these you must use. Inside your program, you must say #include the name of the component .h. When you compile it, you got to say compile your main program and compile include the O file for that component. So as you add 5 or more components, your compile command is going to get longer and longer, because you must include all the .o files. Now let's take a quick look at what our program may look like. Let's take a quick look. Wrong thing. Here. Let's suppose this is our program. If we knew we wanted to include the read, a version of the read, we need to say pound include read.h, right? And eventually we're going to place a call to read.h somewhere in our code. To compile, we got to say, I'm calling this for short PROG5, and I must say read.o. Notice that we don't really have a read.o file yet, but the compile statement will look like this. If I add another one called bubble sort, I'd have to say bubble sort ascending.o and so forth. Get the picture? I'd also have to go back up here and put in a pound include bubble sort ascending.h. Is that clear? Now I'm going to go back through and we're going to pick some components to use just to show you how this is done. So let's switch off of this for now. So let's go ahead and say, I think I want the component called read. So let's go back in, sc help. What can we say? I've already found, I want to look for a read component. So let's do sc status, we'll just say read. What do we see here? We have two versions of read. One is 14.822, the other is 17833. What should you do? You should pick one on the basis of how they perform. So let's quickly say, let's try to see how this one performs. Go back up here. It says I can test it. So I want to test this. So I'm going to say let's test, sc test. If you just type the command, it reminds you what you have to say. So we're going to say sc command read, and I'm going to try the 17833. Let's try that one. Okay, and this one is doing some funny business because it seems like you got to type something in. It's not telling you anything, which is kind of not nice. But let's suppose I want four numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. What happened? It looks like I read that, I guess. All right. If I want to try something else, I have to do it. Bear in mind, you must read the spec though, because the spec says it's got to say finish reading so many values when it really reads the values. Otherwise, you expect some messages to come out like I got a bad count. When do you have a bad count? When it's negative. So let's try that. I'm going to say that's -5 things that says a bad count, which is kind of what it should say, right? It's supposed to say what the count is, though, doesn't it? It doesn't say count, it says bad count. That makes sense? Last thing is we don't know exactly how big what the capacity is. It doesn't tell us. So let's suppose there's 35 things in there, and we're just going to say, let's put stuff in there. I'm making noise on the keyboard, I'm sorry. Okay, what does it come out and say? It says there's a bad count. Maybe it's a bad count because it's too big. Alright, so it looks like we've checked out this one to see what it does, and you might say it doesn't quite do what it's supposed to do. But let's assume we're going to adopt it anyway. How do we adopt it? The command is help. So it looks like the same command as the test. I say the component name and the component ID. So let's just redo this. So we're going to say adopt. And when we do that, it's going to tell me that I have two new files. One is read.h and the other is read.o. See that? So that because these files are in my directory, I can go in now and do that compile I was suspended on. So I can say, let's compile. I'm going to call the output file P. Okay. and I'm compiling, and it got compiled. All right, and now I can really execute it by saying ./p. If you look at the body of the main program, we aren't doing anything yet, so it's not really using the function yet. Now I think this has given you some idea as to what the assignment is. You will find as you go through the assignment that for certain steps you got to say, what function do you need here? Sounds like you need the function show. You need to display the smallest value. How do you do that? You got to call a function. So please do one function at a time. Get the function you need to do this. Get the function you need to do that. Combine them into the program. Integrate them and see if the program will read some data and show the data. And add one function at a time as you go. All right, well, good luck to you. That ends the recording.